You see Abraham Lincoln writing to the Pope, tell the Southerners that slavery is immoral. And then you see a letter from Galileo saying to the Pope, the earth goes round the sun, not the other way around. And Pope's response, you are under house arrest. Okay. But then I saw this letter, which I think you'll find very amusing, how humans operate. It's the letter from the Pope to Michelangelo, will you paint the Sistine Chapel? And Michelangelo responds and says, I could paint it, but you cannot afford me. And the Pope says, I can afford you. So Michelangelo said, what are you going to pay me? This is all there in the documents, of course in Latin. Somebody has to translate. So the Pope says, I will absolve you of all your past sins, all your present sins, and of your future sins. Now, of course, at that time, and even recently, homosexuality is illegal in the Catholic Church. In fact, at that time, you could get beheaded. So for Michelangelo, that was savior. So he said, I'll accept only on one condition. So Pope says, what's the condition? He says, Raphael has to paint the courtyard. Only I can paint the chapel. And the Pope agreed. And that was the birth of the Sistine Chapel. You know, human frailties, even at that level. But then finally you get to see the miracles. And these are documented miracles. Mostly happens on the 31st of December on New Year's Eve, when the Pope appears in the window. The Pope's a human being with the robes and all, but these millions of people have intense faith in him. And he does just this. And number of people walk away healed. Paralyzed people walk. Some people with cancer don't have cancer. What is happening? So then I called my colleague, I've written 3 books with him, Rudy Tanzi, who's the head of genetics at Harvard, at Mass General. I said, Rudy, we should study the science of miracles. And it's epigenetics. We now know what happens. Okay, consciousness goes back to its original state of self-regulation. The conditioned mind is totally discarded because the Pope is speaking about God, and the genes change their expression. That's the mechanism. So when we did our studies, there was one person from Mount Sinai, Dr. Eric Schott. He did all the genomics. You know, he's showing the genomics. So somebody in the audience said, Dr. Schott, do you meditate? He said, no. He says, are you planning to meditate? He said, no. He said, you just showed us the data, cancer, heart disease, this. Yeah, he said, now I know the mechanism, I'll make a drug out of it. And he left, actually, Mount Sinai, and he's now with the drug company, Pfizer. They're making drugs based on the pathways of meditation. And I've seen some of those drugs. These drugs are now soon going to be called longevity molecules. Okay, and we are actually exploring that in our foundation. There are 4 or 5 longevity molecules: quercetin, fisetin, NMNA, nicotinamide nucleotide, and those are the 3 main longevity molecules. And you can buy them on Amazon. There's, you know, you just go on Amazon, you buy them, and they work. They change the metabolic pathways. They reproduce to some extent what meditation does. And they also cause DNA self-repair, and they cause self-regulation of metabolism. In addition, now there are 2 pharmaceutical drugs that are not available. One is metformin, which is used for diabetes. That's a signal molecule. And the other is something called rapamycin, which used to be used for transplant patients, but also does. So out of this research, now new drugs are coming. And AI is coming, and all these things are coming. So I'm going to stop here. And what I'd like to do at this moment, if it's okay with you, I want to ask Gabriella Wright to come and say a few words about mental depression, suicide prevention, what we are doing, and our global campaign for what we call Never Alone, for mental and physical well-being. As I said, physical well-being. And if there is interest here in India, we will work with anyone to actually create this campaign and bring you the technology, which is based on AI. Can you say a few words?
Yes.
She is co-founder of Chopra Foundation, and she is the co-founder of Never Alone. She works with the Chopra Foundation, and her other day job is she's an actor. Okay.